Hello and welcome to Thursday's Look North. Our top story tonight. We'll bring you the latest reaction from our region to the Prime Minister's resignation.
They shouldn't be there, they should be ousted out and restart.
The Tory, they've been in power for a while now and it seems like it's the same every time.
We'll explain what happens next. Also tonight, calls for more to be done to address the lack of NHS dental places available in our region. After 60 years dominating the local landscape, the final Peak District electricity pylon finally bites the dust. And the Ripon schoolboy who's chopped his locks for a charitable cause.
Well, what a dreadful day it's been today with rain and drizzle for much of the time. What about Friday and the weekend? Join me for the detailed forecast.
Hello, thank you for watching. Well, what a day. Tonight we'll bring you the reaction from our region to events in Westminster. We'll also bring you the other news from across Yorkshire and the North Midlands. But first, the story which is dominating tonight's agenda. Liz Truss resigning as Prime Minister and leader of the Conservative Party after just 45 days in office. Well, it's going to be a quick turnaround. What happens next? The 1922 committee has announced a new Prime Minister will be in place by next Friday. But no, there won't be a general election. MPs will get the first say of who might get the keys to number 10. Well, here to make sense of all this is our political editor, James Vincent. James, you and I sat here less than 24 hours ago, chewing the cud. What are we to make of this afternoon's events?
I'm not sure I can really sum it up if I'm honest, Phil. I know that's my job, so I better give it a go. Yeah, we were here last night, weren't we, talking about my phone going mad with the texts from, Conservatives and ministers saying Liz Truss should go tonight. It didn't last that long. It lasted longer than we thought, and it ended up being 1:30 today that Liz Truss finally resigned, and it will trigger that leadership election, like you say. And we want you to get in touch, by the way. Let us know exactly what you think. We'll be on the social media, on BBC Yorkshire, and also you can email us at look.north@bbc.co.uk.
I suppose the burning question is for many people, how is this new leader going to be chosen? How's it different from last time?
Yeah, we had a bit of this, didn't we, last time with Boris Johnson. It is going to be different. It's going to be a lot shorter. That was 5 weeks. This is going to be 1 week. We're going to have a new Prime Minister by Friday next week. They're going to need to get 100 nominations from the MPs in the Parliamentary Conservative Party. That suggests we'll get 2 or 3 candidates coming to the fore. They're already shaping up, by the way. So let's have a quick look at who's in the running so far. This is what Kevin Hollingrake, the Thirsk Malton MP, says. He wants Rishi Sunak to be the next Prime Minister. Of course, neighbouring MP. He backed Rishi Sunak in the last leadership election that he lost with Liz Truss as well. One of the other candidates, and you might say this is a surprise, you might say it's not a surprise, Boris Johnson. Andrea Jenkins, the Morley MP, saying, bring back Boris. There was a bit of surprise in the newsroom and elsewhere when that was suggested today, but we understand he's seriously considering it, and he's got a backer, at least one backer, 2 with Andrea Jenkins in Brendan Clark-Smith, the Bassetlaw MP.
I think we've got the 2019 manifesto that's there. There's all the levelling up that we wanted to do. And really, I think he wants to finish the job there. So I think the mandate is very much already there. And I think, really, there's some unfinished business there for Boris. So I think he wants to come in. He's got the drive. He's got the passion. He's always stated that his passion for the job has never really gone away. I know he's on holiday with his family at the moment, and I'm sure he's taking a well-deserved break. But if he's listening here, there's certainly a lot of support, and I'd urge him to put his name forward.
So I suppose a fair question our viewers may ask, James, is why is there no general election?
Well, Labour want a general election, the Lib Dems want a general election, I think the Greens want a general election as well, but the Conservatives don't want a general election for fairly obvious reasons. They want to kind of reset, try again with a new Prime Minister. Because we're on a fixed-term Parliament, the next time there can be a general election, officially, is the back end of 2024, unless MPs vote for it. But because the Conservatives have got a majority in the House of Commons, it would require quite a few Conservatives to vote for one. And quite frankly, Phil, that they're not going to do that at the moment. There's going to be incredible pressure on them to do that. But the Conservatives' thought here is that they can get a bit of stability back, and that maybe gives them more of a chance in a general election in 2024. But just while this is all going on, there are some huge decisions being made by people watching Look North in terms of heating or eating. There are huge problems facing the country at the moment, and there will be a lot of people wanting to know whichever party they support and whichever person they want as Prime Minister, they want answers to those really big problems, and we might have to wait a bit longer for them.
OK, James, thank you very much for that analysis. James Vincent, our political editor there. Well, the last general election back in December 2019 saw a number of our previously staunch Labour seats turn blue. As calls for a general election grow, Lakshmi Gopal's been hearing from voters. She's live for us now in Dewsbury. Lakshmi, what's the mood among people you've been speaking to on the streets?
Well, Phil, firstly, good evening, and behind me is beautiful Dewsbury Town Hall. And yes, well, if we think back, first of all, to Liz Truss's predecessor, think all the way back to 6.5 weeks ago to Boris Johnson, predecessor, and listening to what you and James have been saying, potentially successor. But back in 2019, he was helped to victory partly through the so-called red wall seats, that is, traditionally Labour strongholds, which switched to the Conservatives in the 2019 general election. And the constituency of Dewsbury was one of them. They got a 1,500 vote majority for the Conservatives, and there are many such seats in our region, including the constituency of Penistone and Stocksbridge. Now, back in 2019, the Conservatives there were helped to victory with voters giving them a 7,000 vote majority. Now, less than 3 years on, how has Liz Truss's resignation affected people's confidence in the Conservatives? Well, here's what people in Penistone told us a few hours ago.
I'm happy that she's gone. I don't think she was doing a good job. I don't think things were going as they planned, and I'd really be happy if we had a general election.
We need to look at politics. It doesn't seem to be working in England anymore. I think we need something new, somebody with a new idea.
I voted Conservative last time, and I probably still would, because I'm not that happy with the Labour policies.
From what they're doing, I wouldn't be voting for them, as they've made a lot of bad decisions in such a short period of time.
I think she was good to start off with, but obviously with what's happened over the last few days, I think it's lost her confidence a bit. So it probably just needs somebody a little bit stronger.
I'm 80-year-old and I've lived my life, and I've never known Labour do anything for anybody. The Liberals do anything, the Conservatives. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care who's in.
Now, that sense of wider disillusionment with politics that you just heard there, that's echoed by some, but there's also a feeling of wider calls for a general election so people can have a say in who the Prime Minister is. And that was the feeling of some of the people we spoke to in Morley in West Yorkshire this morning, even before Liz Truss announced her resignation. Have a listen.
I think she's one of those people who've been promoted, they say promoted beyond their capabilities, don't they? And I think she has.
What's the way out then? General election?
Yeah, I think it's the only democratic thing to do.
I believe that other people should be given a chance. The Tory, they've been in power for a while now, and it seems like it's the same every time. So other people should be given a chance and see where that takes us, really.
Well, no, I don't think they need a general election, not around Christmas, it'd be too much. There's enough going on without that. They need to sort things out in the short term, and then maybe next year we'll see what happens.
So they don't know what it's like to not have the money to buy food for the family, suffer with not being able to pay your bill. They don't know what it feels like. And we need somebody who can relate to that, who can help us, and hopefully come up with ideas that can support us. I think that's what we need.
They shouldn't be there, they should be ousted out and restart.
Do you think she's got a future as the Prime Minister?
No, not at all.
Who would you put in instead?
None of them. I'd start again, I'd re-look at everybody.
So general election, Tony?
A general election, yeah, definitely.
Well, of course, there is no sign of a general election being called, but at least we will know who our Prime Minister will be by next Friday. Phil.
Thank you very much. Lakshmi Gopal live there in Dewsbury. Well, Liz Truss was, of course, elected by a very small number of people. Just 172,000 Conservative Party members were able to vote, representing just 0.3% of the electorate. Angelo Basu is one such Conservative Party member in West Yorkshire. He was able to vote last time, choosing to favour Rishi Sunak, and didn't expect to be asked to vote again quite so soon. I asked him what he made of today's events.
Well, they're not unexpected. It's been a very hectic few weeks, to say the least. And I and a lot of members I've been speaking to recently over the last few days have been saying that the Prime Minister's time was really drawing to an end surprisingly quickly. So it wasn't a surprise. I think it was the right decision to make to resign this afternoon.
Do you feel a sense of relief tonight?
Yes, I think so, because really over the last couple of days or week, that the Prime Minister really showed that she had lost all authority and all control over government and party.
Should there be a general election?
I don't think that a general election right now would improve anything. It would lead to another 6 weeks plus of uncertainty as to the direction of the government, what the government is, who's the government. We would need to continue governing, but without a leader. How does one fight a general election, as one of the major parties without a leader? It wouldn't be a fair or reasonable contest for democracy.
A lot of talk tonight about Boris Johnson standing again. If he were to be elected leader a few weeks after being forced out, effectively, does that not inject an element of farce to the whole thing?
I think so. And just today, even since the Prime Minister resigned, I've heard from a number of senior activists and members of the Voluntary Party who said that they'd resign from the party if he returned.
If Boris Johnson became leader again,
yeah.
Who would you like to see in place?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think that Rishi Sunak said the right things. He predicted where we would get to on the basis of what Liz has been talking about, and it came to pass more quickly than I think even he could imagine. So I think he has a very strong claim to have legitimacy for it.
OK, Angelo Basu, thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Well, as you may imagine, Labour says enough is enough and there should be a general election. Well, earlier I spoke to Louise Haigh, the Labour MP for Sheffield Heeley.
Well, I just think it is utterly astonishing. Every day there is a new crisis in the heart of government. And I think people across the country will just be sick to the back teeth of all this self-indulgent chaos. The Tories have brought the economy crashing down with massive consequences, and now they're engaging in yet another leadership contest. I think the only reasonable thing to do will be for that leader, once elected, to call a general election immediately.
The Conservatives are unlikely to do that, though, aren't they, because they're so far behind in the polls. Realistically, do you expect to remain in opposition?
I just don't see how the Conservatives can continue with potentially a third Prime Minister since the general election. They've got no mandate from the British people for this absolute chaos. It is not right that a tiny group of Conservative Party members can determine our third Prime Minister. Only the British public should be able to decide that.
Briefly, if the polls are to be believed, you have a fairly commanding lead over the Tories at the moment. If the government can unite over the next 2 years, that lead may be whittled away. Are Labour politicians concerned about that?
Well, look, we're never complacent about our chances. We've spent 12 years in opposition, but the choice at the next election, whenever it comes, is going to be simple. A party that has crashed the economy with profound consequences for people's bills and the cost of living, or a party that is serious about responsible government and will stabilise the economy.
OK, Louise Haigh, MP, Labour MP for Sheffield Heeley, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Well, we'll return to politics a little later on in the programme, but let's get some other news now from across the region. A woman from West Yorkshire says she's desperate for someone to remove all her remaining teeth after being unable to access NHS dentist. Mandy Sharp from Otley has already lost most of her top teeth, with many of the ones on the bottom in a poor state of repair. It comes as the MP for Bradford South has called for urgent action to support NHS dentistry in Parliament. The government says improving access for patients is now a key priority. Our health correspondent Jamie Coulson has the story.
Got one tooth at the front The others are just snapped off at the roots. The bottom ones are starting to go now. I just want rid of them. I just want somebody to just take them out.
Mandy Sharp lives her life in excruciating pain. Her teeth are now so badly damaged she always wears a mask in public. Like many, the 59-year-old says she has tried to find an NHS dentist but failed.
I don't want to be seen. I don't want people looking at me, because people do notice, and it is on appearance. If your teeth are bad, nobody wants to engage with you.
Janet McLaughlin runs an NHS practice in Bradford and says the sector is now in crisis, faced with complex problems including an NHS contract that doesn't work and a workforce that's leaving for the private sector.
We actually do care, and we do, but unless there is a change, I don't know how long we can carry on doing what we're doing, and that's the reality, and I don't really want to be in that position.
In July, some changes were made to the dental contract, including a promise to pay NHS dentists more to treat complex cases. But many in the profession say these initial changes didn't go far enough. The government under Liz Truss also made NHS dentistry a key priority. But after today's resignation, there are questions about what happens now.
The truth is that NHS dentistry in its current form is just not working anywhere.
Today, Bradford South MP Judith Cummins tabled a motion in Parliament calling for urgent action.
NHS dentistry cannot be the Cinderella service of the NHS any longer. It's a crucial tipping point for NHS dentistry, and if we don't look after NHS dentistry, we are going to see the demise of it.
The government say they are working to improve access to dental care for all NHS patients. For Mandy, while there is no immediate solution, she'll continue to live her life in pain with her face hidden. Jamie Coulson, BBC Look North.
Thanks, Jamie. Now, an electricity pylon that's dominated the skyline above South Yorkshire Village has been pulled down today. It's the last of 7 pylons that have been dismantled at Dunford Bridge near Penistone. It's all part of a visual improvement programme. The high-voltage electricity wires that the pylons once carried have now been buried in one of the first schemes of its type. Here's our business correspondent, Spencer Stokes.
A very different sort of power cut. High voltage wires have been removed and buried beneath the valley. Today, a digger and a length of cable pulled the last pylon in Dunford Bridge to the ground. There used to be 7 pylons, their framework and wires dominating the skyline. But in recent weeks, they've all been felled as part of a £500 million project to improve views in national parks across the country.
There was an independent survey that was carried out looking at all of the landscapes across England and Wales, and this was deemed as one of the most impacted landscapes, and that's why we're here doing the removal of the overhead lines here in the Peak District.
Constructing and maintaining the national grid.
As our thirst for electricity surged after the Second World War, Britain was wired up. The national grid tried to avoid national parks like the Peak District, but the valley up to Dunford Bridge and over to Manchester didn't escape. 70 tonnes of steel has just come down, an immense amount of metal that will now be cut up on site before being recycled. For the first time in 60 years, the skyline in this part of the valley is looking very different.
It is transformational. Anybody who knew this valley up until the last couple of weeks would know it as a place that you just couldn't escape the overhead wires and the pylons. They've gone. It's really now just the beautiful valley that it always was.
Burying high voltage cables is hugely expensive. Energy bill payers across the country have picked up the cost with a few pence added to tariffs. But it's been welcomed in Dunford Bridge.
I think that it might take a bit of getting used to when people come here as visitors and see them, no longer see the pylons in place, but it is a real improvement for the community around here.
The pylons sprout up again further down the valley. The budget only stretched to the removal of 7 here, and it could be many years before others get this treatment. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North, Dunford Bridge.
Students from across the country have been gathering in Sheffield for a national conference on climate change. Environmental activists addressed students at King Edward VII School, and our reporter Mark Ansell has spent the day with them.
Yes, this is the conclusion of the Schools Climate Assembly here in Sheffield. 1,500 students from 40 different schools across the UK have come here, and it's all finishing with a concert behind me here at King Edward VII School in Broomhill. The students have come here to get educated, to get informed about the climate emergency and discuss how to tackle it and how to campaign for more to be done. They heard from guest speaker Chris Packham earlier on.
Our generation of environmentalists and conservationists have essentially failed them, and we've led them to the gates of hell in a handcart. But the tools are there to pick up and recover and restore the environment so they can have a healthy, sustainable future on this planet. But now we need to involve them. And that means that they need to be empowered. We need to listen to their voices and then trust them to act.
I've been asking students from King Edward VII School here in Broomhill in Sheffield about why today's Schools Climate Assembly has been so important.
It is a really big issue and that we have to address it. You can't just ignore it and put it to the side and focus on everything else, because everything else that we plan for the future might not come if we don't fix this problem.
The government can't just be turning a blind eye on it. We need to act before it's too late.
The government, as it stands, have committed to net zero emissions by 2050. Now, many of the people here will say that does not go far enough, and they'll feel more motivated, more informed than ever before after today's School Climate Assembly in Sheffield.
Thank you, Mark Ansell, reporting there from Sheffield. Now, a school pupil from Ripon has donated his hair after growing it for 2 years, 2 months and 12 days. He decided to grow it in lockdown and has given his locks to the Little Princess Trust, as well as raising funds for Water Aid as part of a school fundraising day. Jamie came into the studio earlier to show off his new hairdo.
I was really shocked because I thought he was going to grow it forever. And yeah, he loved his hair. And so it came completely out of the blue, but fantastic. And we've raised so much money already, £620, with more money still to come in. So it's been
We've got some of the hair here. What did your friends and family make of it when this was shorn from your shoulders?
Well, some people were quite surprised and they didn't recognise me, but I think people have said that it suits me and it's been a generally good reaction, so
that's okay.
hopeful.
Mum,
Yeah.
what do you make of the new look?
I really like it. I think he looks very handsome and really smart. So, and I'm excited that this can go to the Little Princess Trust for a wig as well, for a child who needs it. So it will go to good use. So it will be going on to a new life. So it's a win-win.
A fantastic effort from both of you. Quickly, Jamie, would you grow it back again?
I might do another thing like this in a few years' time.
You sound a bit unsure there, but
Yeah.
listen, good luck. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
OK, it's been a busy programme, so a quick return to our top story now. James Vincent joins us again. Have we had any reaction to the political news from our viewers?
Yeah, quite a lot. Colin
imagine.
messaged me saying, actually, the Fixed Term Parliament Act was repealed. There doesn't need to be a vote. It's quite right, but it does require the Conservatives to want to vote, and I don't think that's necessarily going to happen very soon. Good point, though, Colin. David says, what a shambles the Conservatives are in at the moment. Quite a few people have written in saying, bring Boris back. Richard says he got us through COVID. He doubts this lot would have done. Leslie from South Yorkshire says, for goodness sake, we can't go backwards and re-elect Boris. Let's have Rishi or Penny Mordaunt and then a general election. I think the general elections may be unlikely to happen. We will see. Another David has written in to say there should be a general election. And Deborah says the Conservatives are in a mess. However, I cannot see Mr Starmer as PM. What do the Labour Party actually stand for? There is a lot of people talking about what should happen next. But yeah, normally at this point, when a Prime Minister leaves, we create a little montage of their moments in Yorkshire. But Liz Truss was the shortest Prime Minister in British history. The same length as Brian Clough in
Leeds United
manager.
Yeah.
You know, everybody in Yorkshire's talking about that tonight. So here's what we put together, but forgive us if it's a little bit shorter than normal.
Well, it seems the weather earlier today, may have matched the mood among some Conservatives. Paul, we had heavy rain for a few hours, didn't we, this morning?
We did. I mean, in fact, it widespread across Yorkshire. It's the wettest day since March.
Really?
Which goes to show how dry it's been over the last few months. Let me just show you a couple of pictures. That was a bit of flooding in York there. Thanks for sending that in, Cloud Gazer. That was basically caused by a lot of leaves blocking the drains, and well, at least he's enjoying the beach at Caton Bay. Plenty of room there, but a miserable day wherever you've been. Generally speaking, we've had about 30 millimetres of rain. And the addresses have just been on your screen. Blink and you will miss it, but you know where to send them in if you want to get them on the telly. So tomorrow we're looking at generally an improving trend. It's still unsettled though, but after a grey, dingy start, it should brighten up with sunny intervals and scattered showers. So low pressure in charge. The good news is we're in between systems on Saturday. That means although it will be windy, it should be dry with plenty of sunshine, but this next one will spoil things after a fine start on Sunday. Rain will threaten from the south once again, and early next week looks unsettled but still mild for the time of the year. Now you can see that whole area of rain which swept up from the south today. It's still raining with drizzle across a good part of Yorkshire, but the clearance is into the south of our region. So that rain and drizzle will move away northwards. Bit of a clearer gap coming through, but this time of the year, a light southerly breeze. We may well see low cloud, mist and fog. This is going to be some fog over the higher level routes as well. Temperatures around 8 or 9 degrees Celsius. So tomorrow's high water times, we're looking at 2:04 in Scarborough, at 2:26 in Bridlington. So a slow start in the morning, grey and misty, some fog, there'll be some patchy rain in places. It does brighten up, but a fair rash of showers moving up from the southwest, the odd heavy one, even with the odd rumble of thunder. But it is mild air, 17 Celsius the high. That is 63 degrees Fahrenheit. For the weekend then, as I say, Saturday looks the best day. Dry, plenty of sunshine, although windy. Rain later Sunday, unsettled early next week, but temperatures remain above average. And that is the forecast.
Thank you, Paul. And that's the news and weather so far this Thursday evening. I'll be back with the late bulletin at 11 o'clock. If you're still up by then, do join us. If not, have a very good Thursday evening. From us, good night.